Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Yep, so every now and then you encounter the perfect example. There's a concept I've referenced a couple times. It's the main reason, or at least my theory, why leftoids work so diligently to avoid debate. And that reason, of course, is because they're full of it. And they know it. The con artist always knows they're up to a con. The whole goal is to avoid other people catching on. If you got one guy trying to sell a Ponzi scheme to a group of people that are totally susceptible to what he's selling, or to his tricks rather, well, the last person that Ponzi fella wants in the room is somebody who understands investments, understands what a Ponzi scheme is, someone who's essentially gonna call you on your BS and challenge you right then and there by asking the right questions. This is what the left tries so desperately to avoid. Because obviously the whole effect here, the whole purpose of all this dishonest Democrat rhetoric is to cast a spell on people who don't know any better. Oh, those other people, those are the evil, rich white dudes trying to take your rights away and put you back in cages and reverse the nation back to the era of Jim Crow. They're weaving a sort of fear-mongering brainwash spell on people who don't know any better by telling tales and frankly just straight up lying. And like I said earlier in the intro, it's not every day that you come across the perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. But boy, is that exactly what we got today. We got Tim Walz casting a Democrat spell, creating this Democrat delusion that they cast upon their followers. Let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so I warned you about this Tim Walz fella. I said it basically the day that he was chosen, that this guy gave me the creeps. He's one of those Democrats who's a little bit of a slick talker, I'll at least give him that, but he is highly partisan. He is focused on the politics of it all, and not so much on the truth or on policy, effective policy, and common sense. And so I'm gonna play one clip here, and then we'll have a conversation.
This guy has made it clear how he stands. He's sitting down at Mar-a-Lago after he got elected president, and this was his exact quote. He's talking to a bunch of folks at Mar-a-Lago. You're rich as hell, and we're going to give you a tax cut. At the same time, he was telling workers they get paid too much already. That's who this guy is. You tell me who in Wisconsin is sitting around saying, damn, I wish they'd give billionaires tax cuts and screw me over. Damn, I wish they'd take my health care away. I wish they'd underfund my public school. I wish they would make my job more difficult and more dangerous. And then at the end of the day, I wish they'd make me work till I'm 75 years old. No one's saying that. No one's asking for that agenda. What they're asking for is to be treated fairly with dignity. That's what we have.
You see exactly what I mean, right? It's always the same thing with this guy. He never talks about specific bills, actual things that were passed, track record, results, numbers, empirical evidence. All he ever does is create this fantasy. People that he's talking about, who just always happen to be his political opponents, well, they're just the most evil. They're the worst. And they're gonna take everything away from you. I mean, holy freaking moly. What's crazy is that leftoids are posting this clip in their little circle jerk ideological bubbles on X, and they can't see through it at all. This clip was presented on my timeline with Tim Walz continues to be very good at this, and the comments are just astonishing. Man, oh man, Walz is good. He didn't miss a beat. He's a maestro. This is what we've needed for decades. Walz is on fire. He's bringing the boom today. He's got conviction, something that's impossible to fake. Conviction, holy freaking moly. He's got conviction, these leftoids say, as this man is straight up just inventing things. Donald Trump wants to kidnap your children. He wants to send you to the doctor for a prostate exam, mandatory mandated by government because he's a fascist. What is this guy even going on about? He wants people to retire at 75? He wants to give tax breaks to the billionaires, and that's what he told them. How can I make you billionaires more money? Meanwhile, telling poor people that they make enough? What's this guy talking about? He's literally inventing things. But that's not even the worst part of his accusation. The worst part is when he mentioned that Donald Trump wants to bring back child slavery.
Somebody said, what's next? Child labor? Hell yeah, it's in there. That's what they've got in there. You see states doing that, putting our children at risk. That's what they'll do.
And that's in their plans. I guess he's referring to Project 2025. So now I guess we've reached double entendre levels of dishonesty. Not only is he lying and misrepresenting the facts in respect to Donald Trump and Republicans, but he's also a complete hypocrite on this particular issue, considering his and his party's views on the southern border and illegal migration have essentially created the perfect recipe for actual unironic child labor to flourish in major metropolitan sanctuary city areas.
de qué país?
De Colombia.
De Colombia. ¿Y cuántos años tienes tú?
De los años de los niños que andan acá afuera.
De 8, de 11, de 14.
Trabajando acá afuera.
Ajá. Esto que han robado y entonces tenemos que cuidarnos. Aquel día a una señora la robaron, le robaron.
I mean, it's a whole other level of dishonesty, or maybe it's just par for the course. It's typical Democrat partisan hackery. They do a thing that's clearly bad, and in this case, I mean, extremely immoral, and then they point the finger at the other side saying that's what they want to do, or they support that thing that we're essentially enabling. Donald Trump and the Republican Party are not the party of child labor. That's you. You're the people who haven't protected children at the southern border. You're the people who took separation of minors from their adult accompaniment as they illegally cross and are apprehended at the southern border. You took that and said Donald Trump was just a bad guy who wanted to put kids in cages. But the reality was they were filtering for child trafficking victims. You played partisan politics and have now created a situation where hundreds of thousands of young children have been trafficked into the nation totally unaccounted for. A lot of these children are literally being bought and sold on the black market, and a good chunk of them are working in the United States illegally. In some cases, just selling cigarettes and gum and snack bars, but in other cases, these young children are being employed in vicious, violent gangs. But of course, somehow Trump's the bad guy, and they're the ones who care about the kids. Give me a freaking break. It's like usual. These people will stop at nothing. They will say anything. They'll cause untold damage as long as it benefits them politically, and that's what they've done on the southern border. I mean, we're now at a situation where Venezuelan gangs are just taking over apartment complexes across the nation. I mean, it started in Denver, and now it's moved to Chicago.
And new at 10, it's scenes coming out of a movie as the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua are seen breaking into apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. This is according to our sister station in Denver. There you can see the group well armed and forcing an apartment door open and making their way in.
They've caused untold death and destruction, but to them it doesn't matter because the political calculus at the end of the day, the equation is, or I guess the desired outcome at the end of the equation is, does it benefit us? Can we use this as a political cudgel, as a political tool? And in the case of migration, they certainly can and they certainly have. I mean, less so these days as people are finally waking up and smelling the coffee, but back then, I mean, they rode that wave for a while. The whole Trump was racist and wants to put kids in cages. Donald Trump said all Mexicans are drug dealers and murderers and rapists. I mean, they ran on that forever. And a lot of people bought it hook, line, and sinker and never actually legitimately thought about it. They just followed the narrative. This is what the Democrats do. We're talking out of control fear-mongering, straight up lies, no founding to their statements, just say the thing that's the most extreme and partisan. And I told you guys that that's Tim Walz' shtick here. Was I right or was I right? The guy's an extreme partisan and he's one of the most dishonest people I think we've probably ever seen in politics. He really does, in a way, remind me of Joe Biden. He's like a younger, cringier, more effeminate Joe. Out of one side of his mouth, he'll talk down Yale and other Ivy League graduates and schools, but on the other side of his mouth, he's putting Harvard connections on his resume. He is a straight up partisan hack liar. And that clip earlier, I mean, it just proves it. You don't even have to look into those claims to know that they're total bogus. We had 4 years of Trump. He never intended on doing any of those things. He never got even close to the suggestion of any of those things. But this guy'll say it as if it's fact because he's a straight up bad person. I guess his brother was onto something when he said this man should never be in a position of leadership. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.